ask you another question. James Eadie, who I understand is that first Treasury Counsel, advised in advice that was considered HMRC in 2009 that, and I quote, as the PAC are a parliamentary body with an oversight role over HMRC, it follows that HMRC's function would extend to assist the PAC with their oversight role. So there is no absolute bar to that disclosure. Do you agree with that statement? Do you agree with what Mr. James Eadie said?
The legal advice is contained...
Do you agree with what Mr. James Eadie said?
You have to see the legal advice in context, and the legal advice...
Do you agree with what he said? Do you agree, shall I quote it to you again? As the PAC are a parliamentary body with an oversight role over HMRC, it follows that HMRC's function would extend to assist the PAC with their oversight role. There is no absolute bar on disclosure. Was Mr. Eadie right or not right?
The current legal advice that we have...
Was he right or not right, Mr. Eadie? It's a very simple question.
We've taken the unusual step of writing to date. Mr. Hartlett has written to you on the 19th of October.
Mr. Inglese, was Mr. Eadie right? Do you agree with Mr. Eadie? He's first Treasury Counsel. Do you agree with James Eadie's view or not?
Mr. Hartlett has written to you on the 19th of October.
Mr. Inglese, do you agree with him or not?
Mr. Eadie has agreed with that letter.
Do you agree with Mr. Eadie's advice?
It would...
Do you agree?
It would help... all the advice on this subject has to be seen in its full context.
No, do you agree? He said, I'll quote it again, it's nothing to do with context or anything. As the PAC are a parliamentary body, that's what we are, with an oversight role over you at the HMRC, you as a civil servant in the HMRC, it follows that HMRC's functions would extend to assist the PAC with that oversight role. There is no absolute bar to disclosure. Do you agree with that? It's a very simple question.
What Mr. Eadie has said is that HMRC, and this is in the letter of the 19th of October...
No, I picked out that bit of advice because it's the key bit of advice that you got from Mr. Eadie, which will influence the content of this hearing, and it will just make our life one heck of a lot simpler if you could decide whether or not you agreed with it. Do you agree with it, Mr. Inglese? Why are you finding it difficult to answer the question?
Because what you've done is you've referred to a part of an opinion that was written in 2009.
It's a pretty basic part. It's a key element in the status of you and your department in relation to us and our committee. It's a key bit, which is why I picked it out. It is the key element. Do you agree?
This is an opinion of 2009. There is an up-to-date piece of advice which the department has...
So was Mr. Eadie wrong in 2009?
The department has communicated...
Was he right or wrong? Was he right or wrong?
I don't think it helps to go in that direction.
Why?
Because the up-to-date advice is in the letter of 2019.
Has he changed his view to 2009? Has he changed his view since 2009?
The 19th of October...
You're just not... please, it'll make it a very much simpler hearing if you just answer the questions. And maybe the notes help you, giving us a yes or no. These are very, very simple, quick questions, which both of them, the reference to our proceedings within Parliament and the reference to the advice from the Treasury Counsel will then give us a context in which we can then get clarity in the questions you ask us. That's all. Just give me a yes or no.
Well, the answer is that the words you have used are a partial quotation, that you cannot draw a wider conclusion.
No, what it says is there is no... It says you have a duty to Parliament. Do you? Do you have a duty to Parliament?
The letter of the 19th of October...
Do you have it? I mean, these are such simple questions. Yes, do you have a duty to Parliament? Let me draw it down. Do you have a duty? Do you consider you have a duty to Parliament? Yes or no? Is that easier to answer?
Yes.
You do? Okay. And is there an absolute bar on giving evidence to us about individual cases where they have a national problem? Is there an absolute bar?
That is what the letter of...
Is there an absolute bar?
Says. The HMRC has consistently taken the view that it's lawful to pass non-identifying information to select committees through the gateway that we have. However, it doesn't follow from this that it's necessarily properly part of HMRC's functions to provide disclosure of taxpayer-specific information to a select committee.
So are you now saying that you can come in, but as I take it, you're saying James Eadie was wrong? I just want that for the record.
No, I'm saying that you've taken the James Eadie...
I haven't taken it out of context. I've taken it as the key way in which he wanted to distinguish, I do want to get onto the content, because we want you to answer questions on the actual content of this case. And if you're going to evade them, I think you'll end up with an exceedingly cross select committee. But let's see. Do you want to come in on that?
Well, just picking up from, if I'm hearing correctly, Mr. Inglesi, what you've accepted is 2 points. Firstly, that you accept HMRC owes a duty to Parliament and to the Public Accounts Committee. That's correct.
I have said that...
You just said it, but
I said it's part of our functions properly to assist Parliament,
yeah.
And we've taken a view that it's lawful to pass...
No, just please stick to the question. I mean, it even says at page 5 of the 9th of October letter, so this isn't a trick question. HMRC recognises that it is part of its functions properly to assist Parliament. So could we just stick, please, to the questions? I thought you'd already accepted this point.
Yes,
but could we just go again? So do you accept that HMRC owes a duty to assist Parliament and the Public Accounts Committee? Yes or no?
Yes.
Good. And do you therefore accept that information can be provided which is non-identifying?
Yes.
Yeah, and I thought that's the 2 points we got to with the chair. Where does the legislation draw a distinction between identifying and non-identifying information?
Because the legislation looks at each disclosure.
Now, can you refer in the legislation? Where in the legislation is a distinction drawn between identifying and non-identifying? Can you tell me which section that is?
That's the context of the legislation. So
no, it's not. There is no distinction.
18 and 19, and that is the advice that we believe is right, that we've confirmed with First Treasury Council. So that is our legal advice, and it's the advice we act on.
Sorry, can I come back to the question? The question: there is no distinction drawn. Can you take me to the section which draws a distinction between identifying and non-identifying information?
It stems from...
Can you take me to the section?
It stems from the notion of what one is disclosing, and so one has to look at each disclosure, and that is the point of the 2011 letter.
No, the 2011 lists 5 policy reasons, Mr. Inglesi, which I will come to and we can go through. Chief amongst those is it having an effect on voluntary compliance. But it does not draw a distinction, the Act does not draw a distinction, on my reading of it, between identifying and non-identifying. So the Department is putting forward 5 policy reasons, which we can come on to, but in law, there isn't a distinction, is there?
In law, one has to look at the specific piece of information that is being disclosed.
There is no statutory justification for the distinction, is there? There are policy reasons, perfectly reasonable policy reasons, why you may want to take a decision not to disclose, and we can come on to the policy reasons. The letter from Mr. Hartnett sets out 5 policy reasons, but there's no statutory justification for distinguishing between identifying and non-identifying, is there?
The
statute.
The sentence, pardon me, the sentence which I read out is the sentence that says that we look at each specific piece of information when it is being disclosed. So
I'm asking for the law. In statute, there is no... Can you take me to where in statute it defines a distinction between the two?
I think the best answer that I can give is that one has to read the whole of this letter to get the context.
The letter is not, with respect to Mr. Inglesi, the letter is not the law. The letter sets out